Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a virtual town hall on sustainable insurance strategy hosted by California Insurance Commissioner Ricardo Lara. In collaboration with San Bernardino Supervisor Rowe, 3rd District. I'm going to go over some housekeeping rules. Audio, video, and chat will be monitored and recorded. This event is being streamed live on Facebook. We respect all participants in this convening today and want to create a safe space for all. By default, all participants will be muted and video is disabled. Video will be on for speakers only. Okay, our agenda today will start with Supervisor Rowe. Supervisor Rowe will open with welcoming remarks. Insurance Commissioner Ricardo Lara will give us an update on the insurance department and sustainable insurance strategy. We have Amy Bach, Executive Director with United Policyholders. She will talk to us on staying protected when insurance options are limited and expensive. San Bernardino Fire Chief Dan Munsey will speak to us on fire reduction community list. So now it is my pleasure to introduce Supervisor Rowe. A short bio on a supervisor. She is a Southern California native, San Bernardino County 3rd District. Supervisor has been serving on the Board of Supervisors since December 2018. Supervisor Rowe serves the 3rd District in approximately 10,000 square miles and spans from the LA County line to the Nevada and Arizona borders. The areas she serves includes mountains, high deserts, Morongo Basin, and portions of the East Valley. Supervisor, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. And thank you all for joining us this evening. As I am out and about in my district, this is the #1 question that I get asked. How can I keep my insurance? How do I get insurance? How do I stop from being canceled? And while it is not necessarily a county answer that I'm able to provide, it is the #1 concern that I'm hearing in my office. And I know that Chief Munsey, thank you for being here tonight, here's in his office. And so the County Board of Supervisors passed a resolution encouraging the legislature, our governor, and the insurance commissioner to really take into consideration the emergency that this is for all of our residents. And I have to tell you, once we passed that, I received a personal phone call from Insurance Commissioner Lara and his efforts to try to help our residents. And so it is my pleasure to introduce you to the Insurance Commissioner. He is the leader of California's Department of Insurance. Commissioner Lara oversees the largest insurance market in the United States and the 2nd largest insurance market in the world. Since taking office since January of 2019, he has worked his best to protect consumers from the ever-expanding insurance problems that they've had, to increase access to healthcare insurance. We oftentimes think of it just in terms of property insurance, but it's more than that in his job. And so we have to remain competitive. The insurance markets do, but he has the challenge of balancing the competitive markets with also providing access to all of our residents for insurance for our homes and healthcare. So Insurance Commissioner Lara, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for your efforts on behalf of our residents.
Thank you, Supervisor. It's great to see you again, and look forward to having a thoughtful, fruitful conversation. We have really some, not only county leaders, but state leaders that are really working with me hand in hand during this insurance crisis. And so it's always great to virtually go back home to San Bernardino. As I started my many moons ago, was a field rep for then Senator Snell Soto. And so our office was right there in downtown San Bernardino. It's always good to communicate with our folks back in the Inland Empire. So thank you again, and good evening, everyone. I'm happy to join you tonight. In San Bernardino County, as I said, is very special to me. Wildfires are currently plaguing the state, including in your area with the recent Vista, Edge Hill, Hesperia, and Needles fire. Again, we're poised to, as the fire chief can tell you, even with this upcoming heat wave this week, where we could see record high temperatures. So it's more important than ever that we are prepared for these climate-driven disasters, and that we understand that this climate is changing and it's impacting the availability and affordability of insurance, not just in California, but globally and throughout our country, as we're constant communication, even with the insurance commissioner in Alaska, who's had record amount of wildfires up there as well. And as our state deals with all these issues, fires, heat waves, earthquakes, floods, and winter storms, we're all working together to really come to some resolution when it comes to the availability and affordability of insurance. So I want to talk to you first about, the insurance crisis we are facing now and what I'm doing to fix it. Unlike public and private utilities, insurance companies are not legally obligated to provide coverage to everyone. That is the limit of Proposition 103 when it was passed, and the problem that my sustainable insurance strategy is trying to fix. Prop 103 was passed by the voters more than 30 years ago. Our current rules are written in the age of pagers and payphones that don't account for our current climate crisis. And under the agreement that I recently reached with insurance companies last year, they're going to cover 85% of properties in the distressed areas, while also removing policies from the FAIR Plan. And insurance companies must detail where they are writing policies in their submitted rate filings, and my department would use its enforcement authority to hold them accountable. And these are areas exactly, Supervisor, in your district. And this is why it's important that this agreement is not only historic in nature, but because we get the insurance companies to actually agree to come back to these communities. And we know once we get multiple insurance companies writing back, it drives down the cost for everyone. We can all safely say we don't want government running an insurance company. It is not our job and is not what we should be doing. We need to let the competitive market allow itself, and we got to make our market competitive again so that insurance companies are fighting for your business. So we are taking a data-driven approach to reach as many people as possible across the entire state. And we're on track to implement these critical changes by December 2024 so that insurance companies can start writing more policies in all areas starting January 1. Just a few weeks ago, we began the final phase of the first of its kind catastrophe modeling and rate making regulation. This regulation details the commitments that insurance companies must make in future rate filings to write more policies in wildfire distressed areas, like in your district, Supervisor, and throughout San Bernardino County. As a condition for using these catastrophic modeling will help insurance companies accurately assess wildfire risk and ensure transparency in the charge and charge rates, fair rates accordingly. Because right now we don't have the technology to take into account the mitigation that people have done on their properties to accurately reflect their rate. So this new technology that the insurance companies have been asking for, and that quite frankly we need as well, have been prohibited use within the department, which makes no sense to me that being California, that we are not allowing to use the latest technology to be able to help us track where are we going to be more at risk, how to share that data with our fire chiefs and our fire experts and with our local governments so that they better understand not only of where we're going to be more at risk as the climate changes, but also that impacts potential land use policies, where we're building housing, or how we build and what materials we're using to build to keep our residents in the future safe. I always say, we need to build more affordable housing, but affordable housing is not going to be affordable if it's going to burn, flood, or eventually kill you. So we need this technology. And for me, it blows my mind that we still don't allow for this technology. So we're moving rapidly to employ this technology by the end of the year. So we're writing regulations from zero to now making this possible, which should have been done 30 years ago. The details of this commitment is that the insurance companies are going to use this and write more policies. They've been asking for this. We're going to give that to them, but we're not going to give it to them just without any certainties for them writing more policies in in the wildfire areas and the wildfire distress areas, this is why they've committed that 85% of their business, once they're allowed to use this technology, are going to go back into these communities. And we've been able to detail through a map what that looks like. And they're also going to remove those policies that are currently in the FAIR plan. They're going to take those out. And guess what are the properties they're going to take out first, Supervisor? They're going to take out the properties that are fully mitigated first. You're going to see them try to cherry pick the least riskiest properties. And this is why we're encouraging people to take advantage of the state programs, the county programs, to help you harden your home, so that once these regulations come into play in January, that you are going to be in the best position to make sure you get a policy and take you finally out of the FAIR plan. This marks really the first, the two first for the state regulation in the insurance rates. The first time insurance companies, again, are going to commit to cover high-risk homes, and the first use of these forward-looking catastrophic modelings. And we also know that this is already working. Allstate said that it will start writing new policies again across the state when our reforms are in place. Allstate is important because it's one of the biggest companies, and that's good news for us. Farmers is already moving. Farmers, which is the second largest homeowners and commercial rider, has reopened already its condo and apartment coverage, which is important for our big condo units, for our HOA policies that are having a hard time obtaining insurance. And once we have these reforms in place, more companies are going to come back into the market and stay safe. I want to also now kind of just quickly talk about the safer from wildfires, which is another critical thing. If we can make people safer, we will make insurance more affordable and available. So I've worked with CAL FIRE, with many of our fire chiefs across the state, to come up with a safety blueprint that you can all follow. I created the nation's first ever wildfire safety discount. That means exactly what it means. You will get a discount for hardening your home from your insurance carrier, which we are putting into effect right now, and it's called the Safer from Wildfires. Just like you can get a discount for being a safe driver, soon you can get a discount for having a safer home. So if you are on the FAIR plan, that is already in place, and you can request those discounts. The safer you are, the more desirable you're going to be to insurance companies. So my team is putting information on the Safer from Wildfires on the chat. This was important for us to do because people get so confused after I've gone to so many town halls when they're like, well, there's county rules, there's city rules, there's state rules, there's federal programs, there's Firewise community. We've essentially gotten all that together in a safe and easy way to understand what you need to do. We've worked with the insurance companies, so they also know that this is what you can do, and that's going to qualify you for a discount. And guess what? That is a regulation that's already in law. And so every insurance company has to provide these discounts. And it matters. The amount of discount you get depends on the type of policy you have. This is why it's important for you to ask your insurance provider. But if you have any questions, please call us at the department. We can help navigate that for you. We can review your policy. We can make the call to the insurance company. We can help you better understand what your policy is, because another thing we understand is that insurance is complicated. You have us by your side, and our job is to help you. We will provide that number on the chat as well. And we are also working one-on-one with Supervisor Rowe staff, so that if you're out on the field and you have questions, give us a call. We have a person from our department assigned to that part of your community, so that we can go out to your community and have these conversations, or maybe have a more intimate chat with your neighbors and your community groups. Another issue we are seeing is the sudden rate increases, and I want to make sure we address this. Under Prop 103, insurance companies are increasing their rates legally, but they're not willing to write more policies currently, and that is a problem we're tackling. California still has the lower rates than many states with major climate risk like Texas and Florida, but I know that some people can't find insurance at any price, and some people are losing coverage when they've never even had a claim. So insurance priced is by risk, and with the wildfires, the heat waves, and winter storms, the risk continues to increase for all of us, together. And to that point where insurance is becoming unaffordable for some. And that is why we're working to address that with our sustainable insurance strategy. And increasing the availability is how we're going to get to affordability in all areas. So we hear you. I know that these are tough conversations to have around insurance, but we can't be afraid to have them, and we cannot be afraid to ask questions. This is why it's important that you connect with one of our insurance experts. This is what they do Monday through Friday. They help you understand what your homeowner's policy looks like. Additionally, if you have any other questions regarding health, workers' comp, insurance fraud, if you think you've been victimized or you're seeing something shady, we can help. People don't know that we actually have 300 agents and investigators that go after these fraudsters. So we all need to be part of the solution. That starts with education and with action, and that is what we're showing. You know, I was commenting to the supervisor that we're literally creating these new regulations from scratch. So we're essentially flying the plane as we're building it. And as you can imagine, a big juggernaut agency like this, we should have done this years ago. We're going to get this done in 1 year. And look, this has started long before I was there, but as the supervisor knows, once we're in charge, we own the problem and we have to fix it. And so that is what we're doing. So if more help is needed or you have specific questions about your insurance, we have an entire team of insurance experts that can help you. So please do not hesitate to reach out to us at insurance.ca.gov, or you can chat with us, file a complaint, or speak with someone directly. Please, we want to encourage you to talk with us because we are the folks that are on your side, helping you keep your coverage, helping you understand your coverage as we get these changes done to get us out of this insurance crisis. I'll just end with, what does the future look like? I think by mid-2025, you're going to start seeing companies coming back. You're going to see, we're going to be tracking now because we're going to have access to data that we've never had on how many properties are leaving the FAIR plan and have coverage in the traditional market. And also, we're going to see what insurance companies are actually going to zip codes and counties that we've never had before, so that hopefully I could, in next year, tell Supervisor Rowe how many companies are writing in her community now, how many of her constituents have been taken out of the FAIR plan, and we'll actually have raw numbers to be able to show and see progress. And also, it's important for us to see if it's not happening, how do we adjust this so that we don't get stuck with another 30 years of these reforms that may or may not work. And so these are all things that we're working on your behalf, and I really appreciate, Supervisor Rowe, you contacting me and me calling you, because you know this is an important issue, and I want you to know that we're here to help.
I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. And I think we're going to turn it over to Judith for some question and answers.
Yes. So so thank you, Commissioner Lara. We do have a few questions that came in from our audience. So the first question is, so what is your advice for San Bernardino County residents in mountain areas who need to be able to insure their home at an affordable price?
It's a great question, and one that we get often. So I would say many insurance companies are writing new policies, but that's in places with lower risk. And I know that a lot of times insurance companies won't even return your phone calls, but the market is constantly changing. So do your diligence about talking with as many insurance agents and brokers as you can. Often you need to talk to insurance agents or brokers that may be in San Diego or maybe in Northern California, that are not saturated in your specific area. Again, we can help with that, and we can help you look at different brokers and agents in other parts of the region. The FAIR plan, again, is meant to be the insured last resort, and for many, it's the only option. So we're making sure that you are scouring the market before selling for the FAIR plan. We can help with that as well. So we offer a variety of resources to help consumers understand their insurance options and navigate the insurance landscape. Another good thing that we do is we don't always just, settle for like the big 5 companies. There are medium-sized and smaller companies that are fully writing homeowners that you might not be aware of. And so we have a list of those companies that can help guide you in terms of finding other insurance companies that may be smaller or mid-range as we all get through the crisis. But I think later you're going to hear from Amy of United Policyholders, who will speak more about this and really is one of our consumer leaders when it comes to giving you real life techniques to help us navigate through this insurance crisis. And so I don't want to steal her thunder, but she's amazing and has firsthand experience with many consumers across the country that are currently finding themselves in this situation.
Okay, thank you. So second question, does the California Fair Plan have enough funding to cover major fire events?
That's a good question. You know, modernizing the FAIR Plan has been a crucial step in our strategy to stabilizing our insurance market. It's critical, I'd say, for Californians to understand that a growing FAIR Plan contributes to our insurance crisis. So let me tell you what that means. So when the FAIR Plan takes on more customers, it causes traditional companies to withdraw from certain areas, further increasing that dependency on the FAIR Plan. So we have to fix this. And as part of my strategy, last month, we reached an unprecedented agreement with the FAIR Plan. The FAIR Plan has agreed to issue a new plan of operation that will offer homeowners, consumers, and business owners. We always forget that our business owners also need coverage, especially after a fire. We need to make sure that Main Street USA and those business corridors in those towns also can recover quickly so that we can regenerate that tax base that our local governments need to hire more firefighters to fight fires. So what we're doing is we're guaranteeing expanded coverage. We've established a new high value for commercial coverage options up to 20 million per building, up to 100 million. We've created a financial stability. We're creating a sound financial formula to protect policyholders in extreme loss scenarios that didn't exist before. And we're improving transparency to actually be able to answer your question, Judy, requiring increased public reporting on the FAIR Plan activities and customer service metrics, which we don't have access to right now. So I can't really answer that question until next year, where we're actually going to be getting information, because I also want to be able to tell our supervisors, hey, this is where the FAIR Plan is. This is how much, revenue they have. This is how many properties are coming in. Are they really at a point where, we should sound the alarm bells? I don't know, but we need to get that transparency so that we are better equipped to inform our local governments. We're going to have that under this new agreement. And so by strengthening the FAIR Plan's financial stability, we're pursuing the reforms that promote competition and consumer choice. We're going to create a long-term security for consumers. Again, this should have been done long ago. I was telling the supervisor that these rate coverages, these rate limits haven't been updated since the 70s. I mean, it's ridiculous. So that's another piece that we can say we've reached this historic agreement, and the FAIR Plan is going to be in a much better place, and we're going to depopulate it and bring some stability to it, and provide consumers with more options and some basic consumer metrics so that you can get a call back. You don't have to wait 6 hours to have somebody answer the phone.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. Just a few more. Okay, so next question. We've had our insurance for 40 years, never had a claim, and out of the blue, we're dropped. What can we do?
Yeah, this is an unfortunate situation that we hear time and time again. So this current insurance crisis is unacceptable, and we're doing everything to help us get it back on track and help homeowners get the coverage they desperately need. If your home is not renewed, your insurance company has to give you at least 75 days notice. So if you don't feel you've gotten that, please call us. We can communicate that with the insurance company. And if you're not renewed because of your wildfire risk score, under my new law, they have to give you a detailed explanation, and you have the opportunity to appeal, which that wasn't available before. So that's another new regulation that I established. So I urge people to take that opportunity to contact their insurance company and find out if there's something they can do to keep their insurance in place. Again, every insurance policy is different and every coverage is different. So I will tell you the best advice is contact my department so that we can make sure the company's following the law and help you understand your options. And so we'll make sure we give all that information to Supervisor Rowe's staff so that they have that ready, and so that you can give us a call and we can review your documents for you.
Okay, last question. After 44 years as a California driver, suddenly my auto insurance is increasing as well. Shouldn't it be going down? Why is it rising instead?
Good question. You know, we're seeing that happen around the country as well. And so again, insurance companies have been increasing their rates throughout the entire book of business. And some people who haven't seen rate increases in years are now having to reevaluate their options as well. We all remember when COVID was happening, the costs were decreasing because less drivers were on the road. And I actually ordered insurance premiums to be returned to drivers, and my action returned $2.6 billion back to drivers because they were being charged as they were driving to work when we were asking you to stay home. And so it wasn't fair. So we mandated that they give you back that money. So now people are back to driving. The cost of repairs are increasing. People are driving faster. You are on the roads, you see this, and the severity of the accidents is getting worse. We can share the data with you, and we've all seen it. It's happening nationally. And so there are some things that you can do. I always tell people, first, you have the nation's most competitive market for insurance. And if you are a good driver, they have to write you a policy at a reduced price. So it pays to shop around and compare prices. We have tools on our website to help you do that. Also, if you are driving less, make sure that you update your annual mileage with your insurance company. A few drivers in California, you may, for new drivers, I should say, you may be eligible for a low-cost auto insurance program. And again, that provides very cost-effective coverage for you. It's designed to provide people who qualify with liability-only insurance protection at a really affordable rates as a way to meet California's financial responsibility laws. If you have, if you have a good driving record, you meet income guidelines, your rates can be as low as around, I think it's like $266 for the entire year. So you can also please visit the website for our low-cost auto and see if you qualify. We'll make sure that's on the chat as well. That's an important option that we offer. Additionally, there's some insurance companies, I try to use this with our seniors. If our seniors may have an older car or they only use the car very limited, there's also insurance policies that charge you per mile. That might be another option. So if you're only using the car 1 or 2 days to go to the grocery store or go to your doctor visits, a per mile policy can help you drive down the cost of your coverage. So again, I would encourage you to call our insurance, to call the Department of Insurance and let us know what your driving behavior is, what's going on, so that we can review that policy and try to give you the best advice we can on how to bring down the cost of your auto insurance. Everything's costing more. The cost of labor's up. It's harder to get repair items. Unfortunately, this is the life we're living in. And so when that normalizes, you'll see the rates go down. But unfortunately, we're seeing much more reckless driving. We're seeing much faster driving. And so we're trying to get all that down. Again, if you have specific issues, please call the department. I know I keep saying that, but as I told the supervisor, we have a plethora of resources that we can look at your specific circumstance, at your specific policy, to help give you what the best options are.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Now I would like to welcome Amy Bach. Amy Bach is the Executive Director with United Policyholders. Amy has been a professional insurance consumer advocate since 1985, an attorney since 1989. She co-founded United Policyholders in 1999, that's a song, in 1991, and serves as the organization's executive director and primary spokesperson. Welcome, Amy.
Thank you so much, Judith and Commissioner. Great words of wisdom there. And I really appreciate the opportunity to be of service here to those of you who tuned in this evening. And I think, you've already gotten some really good tips right from the guy who's really very working incredibly hard against some pretty challenging odds to bring you some relief. And my organization is right there with him, lockstep. And so let's see, I'm going to share, I have a little little slide deck. I'm going to go through. We're just going to try. We're going to do sort of a speed dating type of a run through 10 minutes of the advice that United Policyholders is offering for staying protected when insurance options are limited and expensive. So how are we different? We're from the government agency that you just heard from that's hosting this event. We're a nonprofit organization. So we're like the Red Cross, except that our focus is on insurance. So, educating you, helping you solve problems, advocating for you, and working with public officials like Supervisor Rowe and also Commissioner Lara and his team to tag team when there's something really challenging, which is what we have right now. Just trying to keep everybody moving in a positive direction. So we have been around for 3 decades. We don't take money from insurance companies so that we can be independent, and you trust that when we tell you something, it's for your benefit. We're not getting any money for it. We don't sell anything. You can't hire us. So that's who we are. And we have a website that is just a great antidote if you're having trouble sleeping or you have insurance problems and you want to dig in and find out the scoop. So you already heard the commissioner talking about what we have some rules to protect you, but from unfair practices, but what's happening now is definitely something different from what we've ever seen before. So as you heard him say, we're having to redesign some of the rules to make the system work better for all of us. If you get a notice from your insurer they're not going to offer you a policy when your current one expires, you're going to start shopping right away. You need, in this market, you may need every day of the 75 days that the law gives you to find a replacement policy that you can afford. So what are some of the new things you might not have heard of? You have a risk score. It's kind of like your credit score. There's a number on your back in terms of how the insurance company sees your risk, whether you are a high risk, medium, low. So your risk score is important to whether they're going to offer you a policy and what they're going to charge you if they do. So you want to have, just like with your credit score, you want to have a good credit score so you don't pay extra interest if you take out loans, and so that you'll qualify for loans. You want to have a good insurance score so that you will qualify for insurance at a decent price. In this market, getting help from an experienced and proactive insurance agent or broker. Agent is somebody who can sell you maybe a couple of different products. A broker can sell you many different products. We don't say one is better than the other. What we say is, and you heard this from the commissioner, if your agent, maybe you've been working with the same agent for a long time, if they tell you that the only option for you is the FAIR plan, keep shopping, go to another agent. I know it feels bad. You're not cheating on them. You're just trying to TCB. You're just trying to take care of business, because each agency has their own relationships with insurance companies. And a lot of agents these days are under a quota. They can only sell 2 new Safeco policies a month, for example. So if they've met their quota, they're not going to be able to help you. They don't want to turn you away, so they're going to put you with the FAIR plan. Maybe that's the only place for you, or maybe it isn't. You heard the commissioner say the market is more dynamic than you'd think. It's not easy. I don't want to sugarcoat this, but keep shopping. Even if you end up in the FAIR plan, keep shopping, because we are seeing some things shaking out a little bit. We're hearing about some competition coming back. We still have a ways to go. You heard the commissioner being honest with you, that we don't have this magic wand. We're working on it. We are expecting to see things ease up in the new year of 2025, once insurers get what they've been fighting so hard for, which they claim that they, with risks being higher, that they need their rate increases approved faster. Obviously, that's not great for you. That's not great for the commissioner. He does not want to deliver you bad news. He wants to give you good news. So we are trying to work this through. We know that their expenses are higher. We know there is inflation. We know there are more losses coming at them. So the question is really what's fair, right? And we're trying to find those sweet spots. and bring them back and have them compete again for your business. Be prepared to make home risk reduction improvements. Very important today. You get the 75 days under the current rules. The insurance company has to tell you your risk score, and they have to give you an appeal process for saying, hey, I think I should be have a better score because I did this and I did that. I took, I limbed this tree. I put screens in front of my vents so embers can't fly in. I did this, I did that. My community is firewise, right? So we want you to be able to make those arguments and if they apply and have those arguments help you. And so that's starting to happen. There is the FAIR plan. It's there for you. So you don't have to think there's nothing. You have that fallback, right? You also have a fallback, which we don't recommend, which is letting your insurance lapse and having your mortgage company put a policy in place. We really recommend that you not do that. That is a very expensive option that's not going to protect you. All right, you heard about the sustainable insurance strategy. I have sent this slide deck to your supervisor, Rowe, and she will make it available to you on request. This is some new laws that we are suggesting get enacted to give you a fighting chance to keep your insurance if your insurance company drops you because of pictures they took from on high. So this is your rights to know what your risk score is. This is something that the commissioner put into place on his watch, which is starting to really help. There are 4 types of insurance companies. The ones you've heard of, State Farm, those are admitted, fully licensed, Allstate, etc. Then there's a different kind that you may now even be with that are called non-admitted. Also, they get called these other labels, surplus or excess. They're less regulated, but if they're offering you a better deal than the FAIR plan, it's okay to go with one of those. But I recommend working with an agent who can really assure you that they've got the financial strength to be there for you when you need them. And that's also something that the department's toll-free hotline can help you with. Then there's the FAIR plan. That's the 3rd kind. And then there's the forced place. That's the one that I mentioned that your mortgage company can put into place. And then they tack the cost onto your mortgage and deepen your debt. And that is something we just really recommend against. Okay. So this is a little bit more details about these different kind of companies. These are the names you're familiar with. Some of the names you might not be familiar with that might be an option for you. Homesite, SES, Sage, Shore, Northlight. Those are those other kind of insurers, right? Again, in a normal market, we would say stick with the brands that you know that are trustworthy. But in this market, some of these companies will be okay as long as you're sure that they are strong financially, right? And this is a resource for figuring that out. FAIR plan, it's not a one size fits all. They actually have some options, which I'm going to tell you about in a second. You can pair a FAIR plan policy with what's called a DIC, difference in conditions. That's going to get you the coverage that you used to have with a regular home policy, right? And again, the hope is that if you go in the FAIR plan, it's temporary. These are some of the add-on options if you can afford them. And I do not sugarcoat the expensive stuff that's out there. It's brutal. I cannot say that it isn't. We're just trying to get through this and try to qualify for as many discounts as you can. Another thing that the commissioner's team did that I think is great is that the very first mitigation discount, that's wildfire risk reduction, home improvement type discount they approved, is for the FAIR plan. So you can get these options if you can afford them to make the coverage a little bit better. And then you can qualify for these discounts up to 10% for doing things to your house, up to 5% for having clear space around your house so firefighters can save your house, and then 10% for residing in a firewise community. These are the things that you really need to do. And because we have not a lot of time and you've got a fire chief on, I'm going to zoom right through. Your agent broker can help you find options you might not find on your own. What can you do to make this thing work for your household? Find out what discounts are available, ask for those you qualify for, bundle your car and home with the same company if you can, work with a really proactive agent, raise your deductible, carry at least 5,000 in a deductible. If these days you don't want to be filing small claims, you want to keep as clean a record as you can. Reducing or eliminating buckets of coverage you can live without. That's a strategy that works for in some cases. Mitigate, harden your home, put in a moisture sensor, put in a burglar alarm, things like that are not going to break your bank, that are going to make insurance companies see you as a better risk, right? This is a free resource for my organization to find out about grants that might be available in your area for wildfire risk reduction. This is one of the programs. There's a couple of programs now where you can do these things to make it less likely your home is gonna be damaged or destroyed in a wildfire. And then you can apply to get this certificate. Or there's some other programs where you can get somebody official to say, this is a risk reduced home. You should bet on it. All right. Your community should have the FireWise designation. You should have a fire safe council, at least one. If these are things that you can pitch in and you have some time, volunteer with it, right? You got to try to be as politely as you can, talking your neighbors into getting on board with risk reduction, because insurance companies are looking at all this stuff, and the communities, you heard the commissioner say, the ones that are really taking risk reduction seriously are going to be the ones that are going to get out of this crisis the fastest. All right, so I have to say this because my organization was at the disaster center for the Borel fire, some of the wildfires that we had earlier this summer, and we're seeing more and more people who are going bare, who do not have insurance, and it is heartbreaking. And I'm here to remind you that it's worth it to keep your insurance if you can at all, because it's a myth that the government's going to come and bail you out if you lose your home. If we get the federal disaster designation and you are a low-income household, maybe you can get a grant. You can get an SBA loan of up to $500K, but you have to pay it back, right? And there's a lot of competition for charitable aid. Finally, I want to thank you for your attention, and I want to ask you, just take a few minutes to fill out this survey on our website, California Home Survey. We need to keep our finger on the pulse with our partners on who is doing what, where, and what options there might be for you in the market in terms of companies that might be willing to sell you a policy that you've never heard of. So I want to thank the commissioner and his team and Supervisor Rowe for your time. It's been a pleasure to participate.
Thank you, Amy. That was a lot of good information. We have a few questions for you as well that came in from the audience. So one is, what are the basic things that you must have in a homeowner's insurance policy, and what are things that can be left out?
So the most important is the dwelling. That's your house. That's the roof over your head. Those are the walls that keep out the rain. So trying to get your home insured for what it would actually cost to rebuild it if it were, God forbid, to be destroyed is the most important thing. The contents, if you can lower your contents and say, well, stuff is stuff, I can live with less stuff. If that's going to make a difference to the premium, you can lower that. If you don't have garages and outbuildings, then maybe you don't need other structures coverage, right? Those are some of the things you can trim. But again, the most important is your dwelling. And then there's a couple of little things that if you can afford them, we say go for it, right? Sewer and drain backup coverage. It's cheap, but that's going to give you some extra protection in case there's a pipe burst or you have some flooding in your basement from backup. Then the other thing that we say, if you can afford it, is to get extended replacement cost coverage, because it's going to give you a bump on your dwelling in available money. And it's typically not that expensive.
Awesome. All right. So another question. Prices for insurance keep rising. How can we save money on our insurance?
So by doing those things that I mentioned, putting in a moisture sensor, putting in a burglar alarm, doing those home improvements. If you live in an area that's at risk for wildfire. So that could be even the suburbs. You got to try to make that 5 feet of clear space around your home. I know it's hard. But that's what firefighters say allows them to save homes, and that's what insurers are looking for. You want to limb those trees so there's no branches touching the house. Try to make yourself the best risk possible for the insurance company, and then just shop diligently, like, you know, just be a good patient shopper.
Okay, and so the commissioner touched on this question also. I'm going to go ahead and ask, maybe you have something to add. So the question is, what is your advice for us mountain residents who need to be able to insure our homes at an affordable price?
So make sure your community applies and gets the FireWise designation from the NHPA. You can find out more about that in our RAP Resource Center. Like I said, pitch in your community if you can, to create a culture of preparedness, of like, we love our community, it's beautiful, we want to stay, we know it's risky, we're doing everything we can to reduce risk. And work closely with your fire department. If they tell you, you know, they're having a chipper day, participate in that. You know, if they tell you that they have a program to help you with weed abatement, take advantage of it. Because believe me, there is a connection now, a really strong connection between your community's ability to resist a wildfire and the availability and the price of the insurance that you're going to be have access to.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Amy. That was a lot of good information. So now we have San Bernardino County Fire Chief Dan Munsey. Dan Munsey began his career as a firefighter in 1995. Since then, Chief Munsey has enjoyed a diverse career, including executive leadership and management experiences in both rural and metropolitan fire service communities. This includes having worked in every division of San Bernardino County Fire. Chief Munsey, welcome.
Thank you, Judith. You know, I really appreciated everybody's comments. As Supervisor Rowe's right, as we travel the county, we meet with our communities, probably the number one comment we have from the public is the difficulty to achieve insurance. And they often want to know, what is the fire department doing? So I'm going to talk a little bit about that, but make no mistake about it. The way that we maintain our insurance, the way that we have cheap insurance, is that we reduce our fire danger and we have very little fires. The only way we do that is through compliance with our abatements, with neighbor helping neighbor, with us following the regulations. If we're just looking for an easy fix just to find a way to get cheap insurance without doing anything, then I don't think that that's going to happen, because we're going to have a large fire. It's going to destroy your house or your neighbor's house. And the fact is that insurance companies are looking at geographical areas. And when there's a lot of fires in those geographical areas, they're going to cancel insurance. They're going to raise the rates. They're going to make it more difficult for you to have insurance. And so with that, I want to start a quick presentation. I want to verify that at this point you could see a slideshow.
We can, yes.
Very good. Okay, so as we look at our fire risk reduction efforts, first, putting the slideshow behind me for whatever reason. I apologize. All right. The first is we have met the fire risk reduction community list, which is FRRCL, as mandated by the PRC 4290.1. It's a list of local agencies located in a state responsibility area. So some of you may be familiar with the very high severity zones or the high fire severity zones. So the communities are located in very high severity zones, which typically are mountain areas, some of our desert areas, our foothill communities, that those agencies that have met the best practices for local fire planning have been put on this list. And so this was in collaboration with Supervisor Rowe. And why is it not going? It's collaboration with Supervisor Rowe. Our communities are fire safe councils that have led to this designation. It recognizes our county's commitment to wildfire prevention, and it will help us secure grants for additional projects. Now, the good news here, Two is that it does have a positive impact on your insurance rates. Insurance carriers must show a rate reduction thanks to that FRRC designation. It applies to our San Bernardino County Fire Protection District communities, members within a very high severity zone. The very high severity zones are those zones that are in the geographical areas pursuant to the California Government Code sections 51-175 through 51-89. So this picture here kind of shows our very high severity zones. Those are the ones that are in red. And as you can see, that's most of our mountain areas. That's a lot of our high desert areas. That's a lot of our valleys. And I have provided a link in the chat that can help you find out whether if your home is in that area or not. And the next thing I want to kind of walk through is our website. So if you go to our website, it's going to have information on the fire risk reduction community list. And if you go to SBC Fire, that's San Bernardino County, so sbcfire.org, the very front page, it's going to take you and you'll see in the lower right-hand corner, it says 2024 Fire Risk Reduction Communities. If you click on that web page, it will, oh man, it didn't give it to you. I'm sorry, this is the web page that I'm talking about right here on the lower right. And if you click on that web page, it's going to take you right here to this website. This website has a bunch of information, including a call for help, requested assistance, the documents that can be found that you will need to contact your insurance carrier and tell the insurance carrier that I do live in a fire risk reduction community, that I am in a very high severity zone, and that you are eligible for insurance. If you have a trouble with this, I put my personal email and my work email in the chat. You can reach out to me directly, or you can contact your fire safe counsel. Lara has been working directly with the fire department to make sure that we're in compliance with this information. I want to take a second. I want to talk about our residential assessment program called a RAP. So our residential assessment program is a free inspection that our firefighters will perform on your house. If you go to our website, there's a button that you can click, provide your address, and we will come out and we will do a fire safe checklist. So we'll walk the property with you. We'll look at your defensible space. We'll make sure that you're very aware of the modern codes that are required by the state of California and by San Bernardino County to make sure that you're protecting your houses. It was also mentioned beforehand that we have many different programs, including our chipper days. We'll send our hand crews out with chippers. We'll ask the residents that they do trim up their trees and bring the large branches to the curb, and that we will chip that back to the property. At times, we could chip it into a dump truck and remove it from the property, depending on the type of program we're able to administer in your given area. I'm excited to announce that next week, we are going to be starting a fuels crew. So this is different than our wildland hand crews. Wildland hand crews are used directly for fire and for fuel space, doing fuel modifications and defensible space work on your homes. The fuel crew will be 100% dedicated to assisting homeowners with renewing the fuel in and around their houses. The next thing I want to talk about is our Ready, Set, Go program. And our Ready, Set, Go program, if you go to our website, I've included a link in the chat, discusses a couple of things. The first is you see a video that says every 20 years. Some of you may remember in 1980, we had a large fire, it's called the Panorama Fire. It burned down from the mountains into San Bernardino City, and it took out hundreds of houses. 23 years later, most of you remember the old Grand Prix fire, which did the same thing, almost the same footprint. This fire was a little bit bigger, up to 100,000 acres. It affected our mountains communities, all the way down into our foothill communities, from all the way across from Mount Baldy area, San Antonio Heights, all the way into our desert areas. And now here we are 21 years later. So if you think about every 20 years we have a large fire, it is today. The Ready, Set, Go program helps our residents understand what's required when you do need to leave your house. Now, the reason why we do the evacuations is Our firefighters need to be able to get into very tight streets. They need to be able to defend your house, and it makes it very difficult when people are still there or people have waited too long in advance of the fire and they're trying to leave at the very last minute. When that happens, it doesn't allow the firefighters an opportunity to get into the houses to be able to protect you and your loved ones, because they have to deal with traffic, and at times they have to go out and they have to safely evacuate you and your neighbors. So your fire department's working very hard on a variety of different ways to protect you and your homeowners. I want you to understand, though, that this absolutely relies on you. It means that neighbors need to help neighbors. You need to go assess your neighborhoods. You need to work with the elderly that may be in there, or the disabled, to help them clean out their property. Your fire department's going to support wherever we can. Our fire crews generally are used for fires, but when able, they're going to get in the communities. They're going to continue to do these chipping days and ensure that we're doing our part to reduce our fire danger. If there's any questions, again, I've put my email into the chat, and I'd be happy to answer any questions in email, or if there's any on the group chat now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chief Munsey. We do have a few questions for you. So first question, in Morongo Valley, residents and landowners do not clear brush from property line and around structure. Why are there not fines?
So Morongo Valley is not part of our fire protection district. We provide protection in Yucca Valley up through Pioneer Town, Joshua Tree, 29 Palms, all within that particular area, and then extending out to Lucerne Valley and going out all the way to the river. Morongo Valley, you should contact your local fire department, speak to the fire chief, who may be able to assist you with that. Now, there is abatement notices that go out through land use services and all of the unincorporated areas, which would be the Morongo Valley. Those abatement notices go with the seasonal growth, which is typically grass that's going to carry the fire in that area. Those notices probably went out in April. If they didn't, again, please contact the Morongo Valley Fire District. They'll be able to help you. If you have trouble reaching them, please send me an email. I'll be happy to get you in contact.
Okay, thank you. Next question. How does the closing of volunteer fire stations impact home insurance rates?
You know that at one time there was a lot of volunteer firefighters, just like we had a lot of reserve deputies. And with post requirements for the reserve deputies, it's become more and more difficult for an ordinary citizen to be a deputy. And the same thing with fire. Our new standards that the state gives us in Cal OSHA makes it very difficult to be a volunteer firefighter. We are constantly recruiting, and we do have several volunteer fire departments, fire stations within our district. Over the last 30 years, there has been some fire stations that have closed due to lack of volunteers. Sometimes we replace those with paid stations. Fire stations are important when it comes to the ability to respond quickly to fires. Our ability to respond will keep those fires suppressed and will reduce the amount of damage, which reduces insurance rates. Every time we close a fire station, whether it's volunteer or paid, it's going to affect rates. But it's our commitment to continue to look for funding and continue to expanding new fire stations. In fact, this budget year, the Board of Supervisors approved almost 87 new positions, give or take a few. I'm very close with that number, into the fire district to provide better protection. So we're constantly growing as population growth, as new money becomes available. We're adding new firefighters and new fire stations. So what may be more helpful is if you give me a particular area, or if you reach out to me in email, I'll be able to respond directly. With that said, the last volunteer fire station that we closed was probably 8 years ago, if not a decade ago. So this is not something that's happened in the recent years, nor do we have any plans to close any of our volunteer fire stations, as long as we have volunteers that meet the state minimum standards and the California OSHA standards.
Okay, thank you. One more question. Will state support high fire zone areas with community workers to clear brush on highways, freeways, and country roads?
We're at the very beginning. Will the state, is that what you said?
Yes. I don't know if this will affect. So will state support high fire zone areas with community workers to clear brush on highways, freeways, and country roads?
Very good question. And those three areas that you identified, freeways, highways, and like county roads or the arteries, as we call it, are very important for us to keep clear because that's our ingress and egress out of communities. So that is our focal point for our paid hand crews, is to go on those roadways and clear. Often as we're moving through our mountain or desert or foothill areas, we run into California environmental quality or federal environmental quality concerns, or CEQA. It's a little easier for us to clear off the roadway. We used to have inmates that would assist with performing those duties, but with California realignment, there's no longer any inmates that are being used by the county fire department and very few being used by the state to perform that work. However, there are grants that the fire safe councils actively pursue, the fire districts pursue, that allow us to fund programs where we can get in and do that work. And I hope that answers the question.
Okay, yes, thank you, thank you. All great information. Supervisor Don Rowe, would you like to add anything before we end? Oh, you're muted. You're muted, we can't.
There we go.
Yeah.
I just want to take an opportunity to thank everybody for joining today. We have a lot of folks in specific communities that are working hard to try to create those fire safe councils. Laura Dyberg and what she's doing across the mountains, working with Chief Munsey. We have Ellen Palama, who has joined us today in the Lytle Creek community, all working to try to help our residents keep their rates down or keep enabled to have fire insurance. And so we appreciate their efforts. Chief Munsey, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Amy, I learned a ton, very informative. And Insurance Commissioner Lara, thank you very much for all the resources that you have made available to myself and our residents. What I will do is I will take everything that's in the chat, all the slide decks tonight, and I will put them out in a special newsletter that we put out. So if you can go to my website, sign up for our newsletter, and we will push that out. Feel free to email me, and we can also send it to you in an email. So I just really appreciate everybody's time tonight. It's a complex issue. It's very frustrating, and it's not an easy solution, but thank you all for your time tonight.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Supervisor. That concludes our town hall. Everyone, thank you. Thank you everyone for joining us. That'll be it. Everyone have a good night.